All right. Wow. This is being power, just like, this is such a great release. So it's nice seeing your reactions in the chat too. This is a really awesome one. They're all awesome, but this has a lot of cool stuff. So speaking of Cal, I'm going to pass it on to her so she can talk about the calendars and release schedule.
Hi, so it's already October somehow, and we were talking about the next, 2023 release schedule and what that would look like. So this year was the first year we did a release calendar. Hopefully you all know what I'm talking about, but if not, we can pull it up real quick and show you kind of what our community calendar looks like. Let me just grab this real quick. And if you don't know where it's stored, it's bookmarked at the top of our Slack channel in Aspen Slack. We also have it bookmarked a couple places in the Help Center. So under the hamburger menu, over to the side, we have a calendar and you could click on your time zone. So we have Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific. We also, I wanted to just touch on this before we talk about the calendar more. We just released a new section of the Help Center called About. And in the Help Center here, we also have an open source community section now. So this is another area that has information about our Aspen gatherings, if you ever forget where that is, and also just little links out to those calendars. So I'm in East Coast, I'm just gonna open up this one for now. So this is what we released for this year, and we're kind of planning for next year's releases. So I kind of want to just get some feedback from you all. If you found this useful, would you like to see another one for 2023? If there's anything else that we can include on here, and then I think Mark will talk a little bit about maybe some updates to the release schedule that we'll have, or what we're thinking about for 2023. So let's see the chat, what we got. And I can, if anyone has any thoughts, or if you just want another type of version like this to be shared out, and we'll update all of the links in the various places, and make sure that you all have this information for 2023 going forward.
And then I think our plan for release schedule for next year would be to do what we've been doing, what we started in, I guess, September, and we're doing again this month. And then the rest of the year is where we have at least a full week between release to test servers and then release to production, just to make sure everybody has plenty of time to test without maintaining too many versions of the code at once. So we want to get it to you as quickly as possible too.
Okay, and then we're also, for the gathering, we're thinking of just keeping it at the same time. So like the first Thursday of the month, it seems to work well, unless there's other opinions on that, but we're thinking of keeping that the same kind of structure, where now we're talking about the release at the beginning. That seems pretty successful. It's a good way to get everyone informed, but we just wanted to bring it up. But if this still looks good for you all, then we'll just start working on that, and then we'll make sure that everyone is aware of those dates for the next year. Cool. All right.
Thanks, Cal. So next on the new business is we just wanted to make sure that everyone knows that the Aspen Con meeting, just to talk about it, I think it's the first meeting we're going to have, is on October 26th at 10 a.m. Central. There is still time to get involved. So, whoops, I don't want to copy that text. It's linked on the agenda. Let me paste it in the chat as well. So that should take you to a sign up sheet if you want to be on the committee. And, obviously if you come and you're like, need to change your mind later, like that's totally fine too. But by all means, you can sign up and be there for the first conversation and figure out what your contribution would look like, or if you want to be involved, that kind of thing. So definitely, if you have any interest whatsoever in being involved in Aspen Con, check that out. So I'm going to pass it on to Jordan now to talk about priority planning and the release review.
Thanks, Morgan. We did miss one agenda item. I think I handed it over to Morgan a little fast. At the last community meeting, we had a big topic of conversation around linked accounts in Aspen and how they should work and how people should be able to opt in and opt out and what the messaging should be around it. And we decided there that this was worthy of a conversation that was longer than something we could have at the Aspen gathering, that we just really needed a full hour to gather everyone's feedback. So I have scheduled one. There is a link to it there within the gathering agenda. And I scheduled it for the same time as this meeting. So not exactly the same time, on a Thursday at the same time, thinking that most folks would have that time available. That seemed to work pretty well for our last conversation like this. So if you are interested in how linked accounts work in Aspen, especially differences around how people get notified that their account's been linked to or how they unlink accounts, please come to that meeting. If you have very strong opinions on this and you are not able to come to that meeting, just write up your opinions. Just send me an email, jordan@bywatersolutions.com. Even if you can't make it, we want to make sure that we get all of those opinions in because it sounds like we need some changes here. So we're looking forward to learning more about that and doing those. Okay, so next is the planning. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the release review of this last release, what we always do is we see everything that we plan to do on the left and then everything that we actually got done on the right. You could see from our release, we had a lot of partner priorities and high priority bugs done, especially a lot of partner priorities this release. The other thing we talked about was doing some e-commerce, the ACI worldwide. We have the majority of that done. It's kind of marked as stuck. This happens a lot when we work with external vendors. Just it takes some time to get testing and communication done. So we're just waiting to hear back from them, but we think the coding is mostly done, but we can't say it's done, but it's also kind of like, well, we're done, mostly done working on it. So we're really just waiting to test that one. You saw a long list of formats that Mark talked about saying that we updated. I think we have 2, maybe 3 more that we want to do. And again, this is something where it's kind of a communication. We're going back to the different partners that requested format updates. We ask them for input and we look at records. So we're just waiting on a few more back and forths from those partners on the formats that they were requesting. I'm not going to add this one to the next release because we're so close to being done. But just wanted you to know, yeah, you can, if you didn't see the format you wanted there, or if there's maybe one more that you want, maybe you can sneak it in by letting us know. But that project to update formats is pretty much complete. You could see with LIDA, we have the custom notifications done, and that's great. The planning for LIDA facets and filters is done. So that work will start the next release. Well, I just kind of, that's a spoiler for the next slide. But yeah, we're ready to start LIDA facets and filters. But then we're still working on the planning for getting texts and email out from LIDA. So then the preview for 2211, again, on the left is just what we talked about. On the right, we are still going to work on a good number of partner priorities. Last time we did a lot of partner priorities with a little bit fewer bugs. This time we're going to do more bugs with fewer partner priorities. I do want to note that we kind of noticed that there were a few more Polaris bugs, especially out there than we want to have. So even within the high priority bugs, we'll do a little bit of everything, but we'll probably have a little bit of a focus on those Polaris bugs. And then, like I teased in the last slide, facets and filters in LIDA is what we are working on next. Kirsten's going to be plugging away at that this release. Evergreen improvements. So there are certain things that we expect all of our Aspen libraries to have. And we weren't able to do those with the very first round of Evergreen, just some more things that we needed to learn, or maybe about Evergreen and how it worked. Things like, this is like masquerade mode. So if you can imagine how much your library probably uses masquerade mode and what you would do if you didn't have it, we want to make sure that our Evergreen libraries have a few of those features. And it really is just masquerade mode and some things around holds there. The next one is this carryover from the last time. We are still going to be working on the text and email from LIDA. And something that I should have added to the list of stuff we got done, sometimes we kind of give you like bonus features that we weren't kind of planning. And as Mark was doing the demo of all of the different interface updates that we've had people, some people asking for, and some people just figuring out how to do on their own with custom CSS, getting the images and the full text header and footer. We really probably should have added that as a list, all the interface updates to something that we did for this release. Any questions on kind of what our plan was for this past release or what we're planning on doing next time? And I will open up the chat just to see I don't think so. So I think that brings us to our conversation topic for today. This is something that one of our libraries brought up, and we looked at it and we thought, yeah, we can really do this better. And then there were a couple of interrelated things. So I'm going to show you kind of 2 slides and talk about the changes that have been suggested, and then whether or not we want to make those changes. And these are all going to be around this view right here, where we see the locations, basically how a patron looks at Aspen and then figures out where to go to find something in the library. So this first up here is a library that has a little bit longer location, shelf location. And then the second part right here is a call number. Right now, it's essentially two cells on a table. They're side by side. And the library came to us saying, patrons don't understand this. It doesn't make sense. We talked a little bit about labels, but labels are adding more text. And really, we're thinking the issue is that this text side by side doesn't look great. It also doesn't look great on a narrower screen. So the suggestion that we came up with was to instead make these lines. So where you have the location or the shelf location right here, it would just go straight across. And then we would put the call number down below and then the availability. We think that this is much better for smaller screens, and it is also just a much better, a more readable design. So we would like to just kind of make this change. We're thinking that this would be better for everyone. So we wanted to get that opinion here. Before we talk about that though, I want to show you the next slide because they're all kind of interrelated, so we can kind of talk about all of them together. These are some other options that we talked about. So we have the where is it text, and we've changed what this is. So you see the where is it right here. It used to be called quick copy view. The library we have here actually has it as show all copies. They've translated it, but it's this link right down here that pulls up all of the titles. Would it be useful to have the option to show that all the time? Now you might be thinking, I thought it did show all the time. The only place it doesn't show right now is when all of the information is already available on the screen. So if you only had one copy and that copy was available right now, then you would see this information. And because this information is redundant with just the first line here, we wouldn't click show all copies, which makes sense because why have a link that just gives you information that you already just saw? That question only makes sense in the context of the second question, which is, should we allow the option to hide these location, shelf location, call numbers? Why would we want to do that? Well, you can see a little bit of an example here. It starts to get really long, and this view is really readable. So the pro of hiding it and just using this show all copies link is that you get a really easy readable view right here. The downside is that in your catalog, you would have to click on something to see the call number. This is something we're talking about as an option. We're not going to like make everyone decide which one they want, because there are going to be different solutions that are better for different libraries here. I think we just wanted to say, is this an option that you would want? And we would probably do these two together. Just we would want to say, where is it if you are hiding all of these? So kind of 2 questions, and I'll just kind of open it up for what people think. The one that we're talking about making a change, let's talk about that one first. How does everyone feel about just changing the look of this right here to be these lines rather than the 2 cells? You can either speak up, you can type in the chat. I see kind of 2 votes for the double lines rather than the cells. Okay. Do we have an example of multiple shelving locations? We don't have an example of the lines with multiple shelving locations. I think that's probably what they're asking there. I will, if you want to say more about the concern there, that would be great. My just guess is we've had the bolding and the not bolding here to kind of differentiate the 2. But yeah, if you did have multiples, I think it would still look okay. And it would also save the vertical space. But if that's the concern, like, hey, would we still be able to tell which is which? We'll make
Yeah,
sure that we can.
It's Rebecca from Arlington. That was my concern,
Okay.
was you wouldn't be able to see, or if we had reference copies in with circulating copies, both adult kids and young adult. We do have a few of those. So if they were, and also how would they sort in that view on the list? How would it be alphabetical? Would it be reference first or circulating first? So that was just my question.
So we're not changing anything about sorting, and this is always going to show up to 3. It won't show any more than 3. As for the sorting here, I know if you have, I was going to say, this is how I think it should work, or will soon, because I know we're talking about it, but I'm not sure it does today. It will, if you're in like the Natrona catalog, it will show the Natrona ones at the top, and then everyone else is below. I don't know. I'm looking to Mark to say the sorting of these, though. This will show the first 3 available from this list, but I'm not quite sure how we're sorting this list.
Yeah, I'd have to double check. It should be the library that you're in first. So if you're in Natrona, if you're in Edgerton, and we know you're in Edgerton, then it would show that first, and then it would show the others just in alphabetical order.
Okay. So it's Bookmobile before Edgerton, before fiction. That looks like how it is here.
Yeah.
So reference would be after.
Yeah,
fiction.
because we're not in a specific branch. It's just alphabetical right now. So
yeah. But we'll definitely be looking at cases where there are 3. The mock-up just doesn't have it, to make sure that it's readable when there are multiples. Does that answer your question, Rebecca?
Yes, thanks.
Okay. I'm hearing, I think from scanning the chat, literally no objections to this. So we can just go ahead and make that change, which is awesome. Yay, I love it when we agree. We're all so different. Like, I kind of want to pause for like half a second and be like, oh my gosh, this almost never happens that we agree.
This is an historic moment,
I
everyone.
know. And then here, I know that there's at least one. Are there other libraries that are kind of maybe interested in hiding this information, or at least is there anyone that's interested in hiding the information or showing all copies? The library that proposes did let me know that they weren't able to come today, so they're not able to kind of hear. Rebecca's voting for no hiding, and we wouldn't, we're not going to take that away. Like we'll leave them here. It just would be an option. So if your library didn't want to hide them, then you wouldn't, it's just gonna, I was gonna say it's look the same as today, but it won't, because we'll have the lines, but otherwise. Okay, Knox says they might be interested in it. Ramapo is saying they'd like to see how it looks. Okay. Tara's saying, I can't say for sure, but I think our members wouldn't opt to hide it if that was an option. The other thing we could do is just always have this show all copies. Well, nah, never mind. I liked my argument before about that it's always displaying the redundant info. But we could just do one of these and not both of them, but I think they make sense together. So I'm hearing some people curious about this option and maybe wanting to take a look, but most people are pretty good with it the way it is today. Okay. With that, I'll hand it back to Morgan and Elise.
Take it away, Elise. For open time.
All right. Well, October is just a really busy month. We have so many conferences. Next week, we will be in Iowa, and Jesse is going to be there with Kelly, and they're doing a meet and greet on the 12th. If you can go, it's going to be amazing. And then the week after, yes, the Monday Minutes dynamic duo. And the week after, we're in Pennsylvania in Harrisburg. What a cool town. After that, Jordan is actually speaking at Internet Librarian. How cool is that, in Monterey, California? And she'll be co-presenting with Scott from Swan. So that is super exciting. And then we're going to be in Illinois at the ILA conference, Virginia, NELA. So we're just going to be everywhere in October. It's a really exciting month. So we hope to see some of y'all at any of those conferences. And if you're ever interested in presenting at a conference at our booth or collaborating, just let us know. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Elise. All right, well, it is open time and we have like 6 minutes of it, but it is open nonetheless. Does anyone have any questions or comments or dreams that they want to discuss? Okay. Your brains are just very full of all the awesome information that came out today, I know. Well, I did notice that there are some people who I think are attending for the first time. So I just wanted to let you all know, for if you are attending for the first time today, just welcome. I see ECRL people and Ramapo people, and some other people who don't look as familiar to me, but maybe they do to Cal or others. But yeah, if you ever have anything you want to talk about, like this is the meeting where you can do so. So if you want to add something to the agenda or ask something in open time, that time it's for you. Any last anything before we wrap up? Okay. I think we'll call it then another amazing Aspen gathering in the books. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. We will see you again next month. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Happy October.